Welcome to Unapologetically Sensitive, a place to find connection and a sense of belonging, where you can learn, relate, laugh, and maybe even live a bolder, brighter life. I'm your host, Patricia Young. This is a weekly podcast where we talk about sensitivity and the richness that it adds, the strengths we have because of our sensitivity, and some of the challenges it poses as well. The information in this podcast is not a substitute for help from a licensed mental health professional. Hey there. This is bonus episode 51, and as I'm getting ready to head out on my retreat, when you hear this episode on Tuesday, I think it's going to be maybe July 2nd, 2019, I will be at a silent retreat for 7 days at a monastery in Northern California. I wanted to take some time to talk to you about a couple of things that are going on, and I also want to talk about why I'm going to this retreat and what I'm hoping to get out of it. As I've shared with you, I really struggle with getting validation externally, and I'm pretty addicted to my phone and social media, and I deleted the Facebook app from my phone. It could be on it again. What I'm hoping to get from this retreat is really that sense of coming home to myself and really having that sense of quiet and stillness and fulfillment from within. And I know that whether we're highly sensitive people or not, I know that we have these, they're called self-hating systems. One of the books that we needed to read before going to this retreat is called There Is Nothing Wrong with You by Sherry Huber, Cheri, Huber, Huber. These are retreats that my good friend Laura Carr, who's been on the podcast, has gone to many times. So these are things that we talk about. The language is a little uncomfortable to me, and so I'm a little bit reluctant, but you know, what they talk about are self-hating systems. That relates to me. I think that we all have internalized these things that we tend to give ourselves a lot of negative messages. And there's something kind of called toxic positivity, which is you kind of skip over the feeling part and you just move into affirming that everything's okay. And I believe in affirmations. I believe in focusing on the things that really work in life. And I think that there needs to be a way that we can honor the difficult and uncomfortable feelings that we have. Sometimes we need to sit with them. Sometimes we just need to acknowledge them. Sometimes we need to know that they're there and kind of do what we need to do. And as I'm getting ready to go on this retreat and knowing that I'm going to be gone for a week, I've had a lot to do this week, and I'm feeling some anxiety and some nervousness about the retreat. And I'm not choosing to spend a lot of time exploring what that is, because I know that it'll come up if it needs to come up. So I'm acknowledging that it's here, but I'm still focusing on the things that I need to do to get ready, because it's just a very busy time. And one of the things that I struggle with this podcast and what to share with you, the listener, I want to be vulnerable. I want to be authentic. I want to tell you about what's going on with me. And sometimes it's hard because I also really want to convey the message that there are challenges that we face as highly sensitive people. And I think I'm pretty transparent about sharing that with you. But I also really want you, the listener, to know that being highly sensitive is an amazing gift, and we have so much to offer the world. We're conscientious, we're loyal, we're creative, we're great listeners, we make good leaders, great employees, partners, parents, children. We come up with solutions that other people don't because the way our brains function, we just notice so many more things, so we're very good at problem solving and troubleshooting. So we have amazing strengths, and I often get concerned when I'm thinking about doing an episode for you that I want to show that being highly sensitive is amazing. It comes with gifts, and I feel like I've learned to navigate, and I also struggle. So I often will have this struggle internally about, am I showing you a balanced perspective of the things that are going well and the things that I struggle with? I know that when I'm going through change, when my gremlins are up, this obviously comes up even more and generally not in my own favor. But we talk about the importance of naming things, and I really want to name this for you. And it's interesting. I can tell you that when I released the episode that came out this Tuesday, God, I'm so terrible with dates. Let me see if I can pull it up. So if you're listening to this in the future, the episode that came out on June 25th about perfectionism and expectations and disappointments, I'd really been struggling for maybe a week. And I debated about doing the episode. And I have to tell you, once I sat down and recorded it, I think again, that thing of naming what was going on, some of the energy started to shift. And sometimes after recording an episode, I feel really vulnerable and I wonder if I should release it and am I sharing too much? And especially as someone who talks about really wanting to work with other highly sensitive people and the gifts that I have, my gremlins sometimes say, like, people are going to think you're so messed up. No one's going to want to work with you. Again, I'm just all about naming things and being transparent, but there was something very powerful for me around talking about the things that I was struggling with. And I've gotten some beautiful feedback from you, the listeners. So thank you so much for telling me how this resonated with you and how you struggle with some of the same things and how it gives you hope and how it's nice to know that other people struggle with things. So it's interesting. I woke up this morning feeling a little funky, no reason to. But for some reason, I don't know if it's just feeling nervous about going on this trip or feeling pressured with all the things that I have to get done. We have 2 Facebook groups. There's an open group that anybody can go look at content on Facebook called Unapologetically Sensitive. And we have a closed Facebook group that you need to request to join. And there are a couple of answers just to help me ensure that you are a highly sensitive person or you fit in a way that's going to work with the group. And I got a couple messages from some new people in the group just telling me how much that episode resonated or the podcast resonated with them. A friend of mine and a former guest on the show polled me this morning and told me how the episode resonated with her. So I felt like I got a nice little kind of blessing, sometimes what I call breadcrumbs from God. I'm not trying to get religious or spiritual, but sometimes we just get these really beautiful gems from people in times when we really need to hear something. And I just really appreciate that. It's interesting, as I'm getting ready to head off to this retreat, and I've talked about the function of anxiety, if only it was to think of the best possible outcome. So while we're at this retreat, no electronics at all. So no phone, no tablets, no books. We can bring a journal and a tape recorder because we do recording and listening. And when I get back, Laura Carr and I are still trying to schedule. We have a couple of episodes we want to do, but we're going to come and talk to you about some of the things that are relevant to the retreat and tools that you can also use to have more peace in your world. You know, I've told you, I wake up in the middle of the night, I get on my phone, I get on my Kindle, I play games. So I'm going to have to really learn some tools to be very mindful. And I've realized that as a highly sensitive person, I can remember making a conscious choice at some point, having to be in school or places that I didn't want to physically be in, thinking, you can have my body, but you do not have my mind. And then I would go places in my mind where it was much more pleasant than having to be in the moment. And whether I was overstimulated, over-aroused, I don't know. As a result, I live a lot in my head, and there are some great advantages to it. But for me to be in the present moment, experiencing what's going on, it's really challenging. So it'll be interesting to see what comes up. Where my anxiety is taking me around this retreat, I know stuff is going to come up for me, and I'm really okay with that. I really have an amazing tenacity and ability to sit with discomfort and to look at my stuff and to know that there's really good stuff on the other side. So that's the great thing. Where my anxiety is heading is the day that I leave. I think I leave the retreat at like 1 p.m. It's about a 2-hour commute to get back to public transportation. And then I have to take that to the airport. And then I have a few hours before my flight leaves. And what I'm worrying about is I've got all this time, and am I going to get back into social media and email and catching up with stuff? And therefore I'm going to lose the entire benefit of the week. That's extreme thinking. That's the function of anxiety. And again, if we go back to that definition of if the definition of anxiety was something positive, what the reframe for this would be, and I'm sharing this with you because you can use this also in your life, is maybe I'm going to get exactly what I need during that week, and I may end up getting tools to learn how to integrate what I'm learning and how to take that back with me. And it may be easy, it may be a challenge having that big hunk of time, because I know for me historically that the coming home part of trips is really hard. I'm impatient. I'm usually tired by then. I just want the comfort of my own home. And the trip home always feels like it's 12 times longer than the trip going because it's exciting. You're going to something new and you want to get there and it's anticipatory. And then getting home, like I just can't get home fast enough. So I want to use this tool to trust that there are tools and skills and information that I don't know and I don't have. And I get to trust that it will all work out and that I will find a way to manage. And there's no way that I can unlearn the tools and the skills that I will get during that 7 days when I'm there. The other things that have been going on is I've shared with you that I'm a little bit between editors right now. I'm working with an editor on a 1-month trial basis. I had an episode that should have been released by now, and another editor offered to take a look at it. And then I didn't hear from this editor for close to 2 weeks, and I was hoping to get it out as one of the episodes in this month that I'm taking a break, which I'm really not, and I'm okay with that. And I kept reaching out to this editor and I didn't hear anything. And in the past, this stuff would have sent me through the roof. And I think my need for order and control and people responding to me. And as I've talked about, my need to feel seen and heard and to know that I matter and that I'm important, I've really started to integrate a lot of that. And I just know that this is stuff. So for the editor that I didn't hear from, I reached out to her a couple times and I said, I don't know if you're sick. I don't know if you're on vacation, but I haven't heard from you and what's going on. I finally did hear from her this morning and she said that, in the next day or two, she'll get the episode back to me. I started to write an email going hey, I'm leaving on vacation in another day and I was hoping to have this episode out. And I thought, you know what? I had already kind of figured out what I was going to do for the next 2 episodes, knowing that I get back and we'll have another episode that's due very shortly. So how can I do what I can do in the limited time that I have? And I just thought, let it go. And the same thing with the editor that I'm working with right now, that I had an expectation that, we'd get 4 episodes done in a month and every week there'd be an episode with show notes and the things that this editor said that they would provide. And it just seems like it's taking longer than I had expected. Although it's been uncomfortable, I don't feel super settled. It was really nice when I knew that I had an editor. I could just upload all the content. It was ready to go. Now I'm being more mindful about how much content I'm going to send because I don't know how long we'll be working together. We're still figuring each other out. But I really have developed a high tolerance for kind of this being in this in-between space and not knowing if it's going to work. And am I going to need to look for another editor? And I have to say that my gremlins are going, every time you share about something, then, the next day or two, something falls apart and then I have a meltdown. So just setting the bar that I may have a meltdown about not having a podcast editor, having a challenge with a podcast editor in the next day or two. And if it happens, I'll survive. And this is just kind of how we learn about things. We talk about our expectations. We deal with disappointments. We name things. This is really what vulnerability and authenticity is about. So I think that's all I have for you. So the next time you will hear from me, at least in a bonus episode, I will have been to the retreat and back. Maybe Laura and I will have a chance to record an episode. I really appreciate each and every one of you. Thank you so much for the feedback that you give me, the comments that you make. I love connecting with you. I'm recording 2 online summits. One is a global summit for highly sensitive people. The other one I'm recording this morning. I don't have as much information about it. So if you're interested in getting information, either check into the Facebook group page or the closed Facebook group, because I will be posting in there when these summits come out in August. If you're interested in working with me, you can find out information about how to contact me or send me an email at unapologeticallysensitive.com. Remember, sensitivity is nothing to apologize for. It's our superpower. Have a blessed day.